Just 5 days to go now until Israelis vote in their fifth election in less than 4 years. The November 1st campaign has been framed largely as a contest between incumbent Prime Minister Yair Lapid and the former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. However, most polls suggest that both Lapid and Netanyahu will fall short of gaining the 61 seats needed to form a new government. In its last poll before Tuesday's election, Israel's national broadcaster Kan reported that if the election were held today, the Likud party led by Netanyahu would get 31 seats, the Yesh Atid party led by Yair Lapid will garner 24 seats, and the National Unity Party led by Benny Gantz will win around 11 seats. While the far-right parties would garner 14 seats, the poll also suggested that the left-wing Meretz and Labour parties will just pass the threshold to make it into the Knesset with 11 seats between the two of them. Meanwhile, a separate poll by the Israeli Voice Index on Wednesday found that around 39% of Israelis do not trust the purity of elections and question if the results will precisely reflect how the public voted. And joining me now from Tel Aviv is Aviv Bushinsky, the former media advisor and chief of staff for Netanyahu. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Hi, good evening, Batia.
Elections are just 5 days away, and it's a big question of the event. A surprise or more deadlock? Will Israelis be heading to a sixth election in 4 years, or will the pro or anti-Netanyahu blocs have enough seats to finally form a government?
It's a good question. The answer will be given hopefully within 80 hours from now. And today it's after the Via Dolorosa of so many elections. Today it's maybe the Good Friday because no more polls as of tonight. According to the polls, I can say that the big dilemma and the answer for your good question, Batya, is what will be with the Arab parties. If you will take the National Democratic Alliance, the Balad party, if they will not, and according to the polls, will not pass the minimum threshold, therefore Netanyahu bloc might get 60 seats, maybe 61. If the other Arab parties will not, at least one of them, will not pass the minimum threshold, then most likely Netanyahu will be the next prime minister of Israel. And I think that this is the name of the game, with a potential of 12 seats in the Arab population. Out of 600,000 voters, they might end up with 4, 5, or 6, or maybe 8 seats the most. And this will enable Netanyahu most likely to form his new narrow coalition within a week from now.
You mentioned the Arab parties, but what about the ultra-Orthodox parties, Netanyahu's coalition partners, Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich? Many in the U.S. over the past few weeks have been warning the former prime minister against aligning with the far right. If he does he risk posing some kind of threat between the airtight relationship between the United States of America and Israel?
I think that Netanyahu, this is his 12th, if I'm not mistaken, national elections, 17 primary elections. He broke all Guinness World of Records in terms of elections. And Netanyahu's goal is, first of all, to be prime minister. If he will be in a position to form an narrow government, I assume that, first of all, he'll call the other parties, maybe Yesh Atid, Yair Lapid, maybe Benny Gantz. Assuming they'll refuse, then Netanyahu will end up with a very harsh religious right-wing coalition. But yet Netanyahu will have some options to maneuver and try to address, especially the United States administration, more of the same. If he face some kind of obstacles, then he'll always, according to Netanyahu, try and fetch for the other allies, again, the center-left parties. But I think that Netanyahu, after so many elections, will try, first of all, to become the prime minister and then address the other challenges that Israel has to face internally and externally.
Now, looking at recent polls, we actually had one up from Israel's national broadcaster Kan just a few moments ago, but 4 parties appear to be hovering around the threshold, both from the left and from the right. Surely that alludes to just more of the same, more deadlock. Should we expect something different this time?
That's a good question. Look, according to most of the polls, we are going to face some kind of a deadlock. In other words, if Ayelet Shaked from the right will not pass the minimum threshold, and on the other hand, at least one Arab party will not pass the minimum threshold, maybe we'll face some kind of a deadlock. In other words, Netanyahu bloc will reach 60 seats and not more than that. And then comes the ultimate question: will we face a sixth election? According to my assumption, no. The Israeli society is not willing to absorb economically and also this ordeal. As I said, the Via Dolorosa of another elections. And again, Netanyahu will understand that the sixth election will not bring him to a better position as he is at the moment. I think that he's reaching his last seeding, and therefore they'll try to find some kind of solution. And I won't rule out even a national unity. In this case, Likud with Yesh Atid party, but we have a few days to see if this will happen.
Well, I sincerely hope that your assumption is right. A sixth election is not on the cards, and this will be the last one. Aviv Bushinsky, the former media advisor for Chief of Staff and for Netanyahu, thank you so much for joining us. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.